There we go. Okay. So welcome everyone. My name is Nicole. I am the education manager with the Eastern Sierra Interpretive Association. Our mission at ESIA is to provide high quality interpretive products, exhibits, and programs. So a big thank you to you who were able to donate or became a member. If you haven't become a member yet, it's not too late. You can head over to our website, which is sierraforever.org. Also, a big thank you to Mammoth Lakes Recreation and the Measure U grant. Today, we're joined by Rick Saez. Rick is a California-based international travel, landscape, and adventure photographer and podcaster. I actually have one of Rick's pictures hanging up in my house right now. So I love Rick's photography.
Thank you.
He's led expeditions and photo trips to Alaska, Nepal, Mexico, Africa, and has photographed in 25 different countries on 6 different continents. Rick has been published in magazines such as Austrian Ocean 7 magazine, Runner's World, Alameda magazine, and more. He also publishes the Outdoor Biz Podcast, where you can hear inspiring conversations with outdoor insiders every Tuesday. So I'm going to hand it over to Rick, and he's going to show us some of his great photos and maybe give us a few tips. Thanks for joining us.
All right, cool. Thanks, Nick. Good to be here, everybody. Hope you're all having a good evening. We're going to wander around the Eastern Sierra and maybe visit a couple spots in the world. I've got some tips for everybody if you want to learn some tricks on photography, simple stuff that you can use with your DSLR camera or even your iPhone. They're pretty simple things to use. I think there's a lot of ways that we can improve photography that's not super technical. So without further ado, I will get started. If you have questions, I guess Nick will just answer questions as they pop up or how. Okay, cool. Yeah, all right. Well, I'm a professional photographer and a podcaster. My podcast drops every Tuesday. I interview the outdoor industry insiders that I know. I've spent 30 years in the outdoor industry, and I didn't realize it till I was more than 50 years old. I've always been a visual and auditory person. My mom tells a story of when I was a little kid, I would stand at the front door and just outside, keep screaming outside. I wanted to go outside. I had to be outside. So she'd have to take me outside and let me outside all the time. And love being out there, love seeing the sound and colors and shapes of nature and the storms. They just really motivate me and move me. And I seem to be always, not always, but frequently alone out there. And it's pretty fun to get that energy of storms and stuff. I think a few of you that are watching tonight have been with me on some photo adventures, which we've had a lot of fun. So I'm happy you're here, and we'll just wander through. I got a lot of slides, so we'll try not to go too fast, but there's a lot of stuff to go through. And just start off with some simple tips that everybody can use. I'll be talking about each one of these in detail as we go through, but vision, we'll talk about vision, patience, light, composition, think in 4s. I always capture pretty much 4 images of every shot that I take. You got to remember to move. You can't just stand there and point the camera. You got 2 feet. That's the best tripod you have. Walk around. Stability. We'll talk a little bit about tripods, filters, lenses. And the final thing is enjoy the moment. Just have fun with it. We're out there to have fun. We're going to start off with the Eastern Sierra, Lone Pine, Bishop, and the Owens Valley. This is the crest outside of Bishop here with the mountains that we all know and love. Here's another view of the crest in a big storm. This was just west of Bishop one evening. Beautiful night. This is Farmer's Pond. I didn't discover Farmer's Pond until I'd been in Bishop for quite a while. I was surprised. And it's just a great spot. I think in the summertime it's dry. There's only water in the winter, but you get some great sunrise photos here with, the snow-capped mountains after a big storm. If we've had a big dump and got it all the way into the valley, that's pretty cool. But even the wildflowers or just the nature that you see here, the plants that you see here can create some cool color. This is Heart Lake. This was a pretty spectacular morning, crystal clear morning on a photography workshop that I was on with some folks here in Bishop, but beautiful sunrise there. We get some great sunrises all across the Eastern Sierra, so there's good ways to take that. This is Elderberry Canyon, one of the great ski runs in the east side. I have never skied Elderberry Canyon, but I fell it once. I went up there with Alan Bard. I'm not sure, Tim, if you were on that, but I fell the whole way down while those guys skied. I was not very good at skis. I had a new pair of skis, but it was awesome being up there. I had a good time. And who doesn't love mule days, right? We get to do that pretty much every year. We didn't get to do it last year because of the pandemic, but it's always fun. that shot up there in the upper right is pretty creative. You know, one of the things you can do with your camera is don't be afraid to turn the lens. If you have a zoom lens on there, you don't want to mess up the focus, but turn the lens and you get some pretty creative shots. You'll see, I do that quite a lot. You'll see that a few times in the show. And then the great mules and some of the great colors of the red, white, and blue flags and stuff. Just a cool thing to go take photos of. This is, I think this is Lathe Arch down in the Alabama hills, where you can shoot through Lathe Arch and get the crest and sometimes see Mount Whitney. This is a pretty cloudy day. You can't quite make out Mount Whitney, but a lot of arches in Alabama hills. If some of you guys have gone down there and shot those, they're pretty fun. I think there's a book about all the arches. There's tons of arches down there. It's a great place to go. And lenses, I shoot most of my landscape images with 3 lenses, all of my images with 3 lenses. I use a 14 to 24 f2.8, 24 to 70, and a 70 to 200. That gives me the focal lengths that I need to get pretty much everything that I want in the camera. And the reason I shoot 2.8 is because it gives me the option of shooting in very low light. So it can be really dark or, you know, really cloudy, and I don't need a flash. I can use that. So if you can, you know, the 2.8 lenses are pretty expensive. So if you can't afford those, there's so many great kit lenses out there now, and some of these new digital cameras, you know, they're no longer SLRs. They're all digital. Those are pretty great. I just got a new Nikon Z6, and it's pretty phenomenal. So shoot whatever your budget can afford. Just get out there and shoot. That's what you got to do. Here's another shot of the Sierra Crest driving south towards the Alabama hills on a stormy afternoon. I love to process both black and white and color. Here's Mount Whitney in the early sunrise. If I'm going through too fast, someone raise your hand and holler at Nick or something. Let me know to slow down. This is a cool spot, camped overnight in the Alabama hills right at the springtime. You can see the green plants in front of us, and then you'll see some flowers of that same area. This is Lone Pine Peak, bright sunny day. Here's another great shot of I love the rocks in the Alabama hills. I was down there just last Tuesday night with a buddy of mine, just spending the night. We had a little fire. We're catching up on business. And it's just a great place to go wander around. It's getting a little crowded these days, but it's still pretty fun. This is another Whitney shot through the arch. I forget the name of this arch. And then just some flowers up against the rocks. You know, don't forget to look around and shoot all the textures that you see. You know, granite has some great textures and colors in it with flowers. That's a good juxtaposition of an image. This is a really tight shot of it wasn't a cotton ball, but it was some kind of a blossom, but I just zoomed in really tight on that, caught it blowing in the wind, created a cool effect. And then here's Lathe Arch again in black and white. And then the lupin bloom up there in Division Creek is pretty fun to shoot up. We're probably getting pretty close to that happening. I don't know if it started yet, but you know, the water runs through there. If you use a filter or a slow shutter speed, you can get that silky water flowing through there right at sunrise. There's some great lupin up there. I've gotten some tons of good shots with lupin up there. They're all over the place up there. They're beautiful against the rocks right as sunrises. This one's a little blurry. I think I grabbed the low res image for this, not the high res image. Sorry about that. Another tight shot of the lupin. Tons of flowers and wildflowers in the Eastern Sierra too, all over the place. And filters, there's 3 filters that I use pretty typically. Like I use 3 lenses. I guess I do think in threes, but neutral density filters, polarizing filter, and a split neutral density filter. A polarizing filter allows you can turn it and adjust the darkness of the filter to adjust how the colors of the sky or the clouds or whatever it is you're looking at. Neutral density filters just allow you to darken the image or lighten the image. And a split neutral density filter is half dark on the top and half light on the bottom. So that shot that we saw of Heart Lake, where the sun was peeking on it's right here in the background, right here, you can see it right here. That was a split neutral density filter. That allows me to expose for the sunlight, but still get the grass in the foreground. It's not totally black. So that shot on the left of the trout there, that was with a polarizer. It allows you to kind of see through the water more clearly. And then there's another neutral density that I used over there on the right to slow down the water and get that silky effect on the right. There's some more wildflowers in the Alabama hills. They're pretty spectacular this time of year, or maybe not quite yet, but they're going to be happening soon. Really green, it's beautiful there. little close up of I forget the name of this flower. I had it on the slide. There's an Indian paintbrush. Those are all over some of the streams here. Man, that's a beautiful shot. I like to shoot flowers tight. You see a lot of, I zoom in on the flowers. I'm not sure why I do that, but it's one of my tricks. Differentiate myself from other folks. There's Columbine. That was taken up in Tioga Pass, actually. And another tight shot of a lupin. And you can see with that 2.8 lens, I can focus on the lupin in low light and blur out the background. That's one of the cool things of shooting with lower light lenses. That's a mallow, I believe, an orange mallow. Lupin on the right. I'm not sure what that one on the left is. That white one is from Death Valley, though. I don't remember the name of it. Sorry. All right, let's move on from flowers. And how about clouds? Anybody want to see some clouds? We get some great clouds in the Eastern Sierra. It's unbelievable. Some of these, you get some blue and orange yellow light, you know, in some of these wave clouds. You get these reds. This was a spectacular evening. I was up around Mammoth when I shot this. It was just phenomenal. And kind of the whole sky blows up. It's just incredible how large across the sky you get these wave clouds across the whole crest. It's just phenomenal. I'm sure you guys have all seen that. And then you just get, you know, the nice blue sky and a nice white cloud. And this is where I shoot. This was taken in my backyard one night. I was walking out, getting ready to grill something, and it's like, oh my God, I got to grab the camera. Amazing. But this is where we're going to talk about shooting in fours. You'll see this is a nice shot of a nice tall cloud. And then we'll go a little closer in and shoot horizontally. And then we'll back off a little bit and get the whole landscape from it. So you want to shoot in fours because you never know what you're going to want to do in a slideshow or one image a client is going to like, but you want to do vertical, horizontal, tight, and wide. That way you have options. A lot of times a magazine will want different options for their cover, for some, you know, if they're using something on a contents page, you know, they like a vertical shot. So I always try to shoot four shots of everything I do. These clouds were just these wispy things that look like smoke up in the sky. This was taken just a few months ago. It's pretty cool. Am I going too fast, too slow? Good, cool, all right. How about Mono Lake? Mono Lake is a spectacular place to take photos of the tufa and the sun. I've gotten some great sunrises and sunsets there too with the clouds. Was a beautiful winter morning. It just looked, I'm not sure what caused the orange, but it was the whole sky and lake was orange. It was really spectacular. And then this was this wild storm cloud that was coming in. We were waiting for a full moon here, and these clouds just looked like the sky was just going to fall in on top of us. So that was pretty cool. And you can see how windy it was on the lake. And then here's the moon actually did come up that night and didn't get clouded out. And we got some cool shots of that. And then the tufas and the fog rising off the lake with the tufa and the crest in the background. This was again with a split neutral density filter. And then you get these blues, right? The blue pops up out of nowhere and everything's blue. The sky, the lake, good contrast with the brown of the tufa. Makes them for some beautiful shots. And then I always like to shoot shadows if I can find shadows anywhere. So, you know, you just black out the tree and get the sunlight behind it, make some cool shots. Different take. This was actually the same morning, believe it or not. It was blue and then it turned orange, or maybe it was orange and then it turned blue. I forget, but then you get these pastels that are pretty phenomenal too. Mono Lake is a great spot to be. Black and white. This was a freezing winter day. The Mono Lake Committee store, I think, or Mono Lake Committee had some workshops going on up there. I took this one from a guy out of the Bay Area. And I think it was 20 degrees that morning. It was cold, but it was beautiful. And the lake was still. It had just snowed the night before. Another pastel sunrise. And you can't come into Mono County without stopping by the Eastside Bake Shop. These guys make great goodies, great coffee. They have great dinner. I got to take some photos behind the scenes one time. Of them making some great food. It was pretty fun night. Again, don't forget to blur the lens, you know, do some creativity with the, you know, beers all lined up there. This is a good buddy of mine. We're rambling around the Sierras a lot. We had to stop for lunch, but we're going to keep rambling on and wander around all places in Mono Inyo County. This is Bodie. You could do some creative stuff in Bodie. There's some great old buildings there. I'm sure a bunch of you have been to Bodie. You can shoot through the windows in there too if you can't actually get into buildings. But I think one night a week or a couple of weekends, they allow people in the buildings. You can go and shoot there. That's pretty fun to do. This old car's probably been photographed. I don't know. I hate to think how many times. I bet everybody's got a photo of it too, this front end. Wagon wheels in the garage, springtime. This is that same wagon, the whole wagon with the tulips blooming. It was a pretty beautiful day that day. Black and white version of the wagon wheel. And then the Mammoth Crest, right? I mean, just some great clouds up there from the lookout up there. And this was a pretty spectacular cloudy night. Here's the black and white version. Here's the color version. I kind of like the black and white better. I'm not sure what you guys think, but I like the black and white better. They're not good. And you don't always, when you're shooting these things, you don't always have to put the entire crest up right across the middle of the photo, right? You want to create places for the looker's eye to move and go to. So that's why I try to put the horizon down below here so they can go up and see the sky, and you get a little perspective of the grandioseness of the location. It's just huge. Devil's Postpile. This is a pretty chilly morning at Devil's Postpile. This is that pond as you're driving out. I forget the name of the road. The road to the Green Church. Got a lot of dust on there, isn't there? But as you're driving out that road, this was a freezing morning. It wasn't frozen. The pond wasn't frozen, but it looked like it was, and just snowed down to the valley. It was really a beautiful, still morning. And then, you never know what you're going to find out there. This was a fence post up above, just by Virginia Lakes, just south of Virginia Lakes. It happened to be 4th of July. I don't know how this flag got here, but it was pretty appropriate on 4th of July weekend with the sun setting behind the mountains there. It's pretty cool. That was a morning shot. And then we were coming back from a backpacking trip. It snowed all weekend. We were at Thousand Island Lake, and we were driving out and saw the mules in the field here, and we just had to capture the snow falling. It was just a cool shot. They didn't care we were there. One guy was looking at us, but they didn't really care. They were busy eating. Now we're going to say goodbye to Mono County and keep rambling on. How about fall color? It's about time for fall, right? I got to tell you, the moon was not that large on this picture. I superimposed the moon. This is a dual image, so you got to do that creatively. You can't just get that in the camera. Two sandwiches matched together. Two images sandwiched together. This is McGee Creek with the leaves falling all around. Again, the polarizing filter allowed me to use a slow shutter speed and slow down the water, get that silky flow of the water. Same thing here. Isolated the leaves on the creek. Fall is a great time here in this area because we have so many places to go get the aspens and all the different colors of the fall trees. This was up at Parker Lake. I was up there to do some fishing photography, and these guys were floating around in their float tubes. It was a beautiful fall day, another chilly day. This is Convict Lake, beautiful fall color in Convict Lake. And again, composition. We're going to talk here about composition in a moment. I think less is more. I'm generally moving around, zooming, doing all kinds of things to try to, create less distraction in the image. So I think you have to move around and do a lot of different things. This tighter shot allowed me to take all the noise of the foreground out of the picture and get the fall colors of the trees on the other side of the lake, but framed with the picture. And again, I opened it up to 2.8 so I could blur some of the background there. But, get creative, move around, take different shots, shoot it at, f16 so you get everything in focus, and shoot it at 2.8 and blur some things, see what you can come up with. You do a lot of cool things with composition. And again, you never know if you're shooting commercially what they're going to want. If you're fortunate to be doing a shoot and there's a director or someone on site, they can tell you, but sometimes they're not going to tell you what you want, magazines in particular. So get a lot of options for them, and you never know what might sell. And then light is an interesting thing. I think a lot of people forget that light reflects off of canyon walls and so forth. This was in Bishop Creek Canyon. The light was behind us. So it was a sunrise shot. Sorry, we were shooting to the west. The light was coming up and reflecting off the wall behind us and lit up this little aspen grove. So don't be afraid to look at reflected light, look at side light, foreground light. Like you can do a lot of creativity moving around and using the light in your image. This is Bishop Creek as well. Again, another slow shot. I think Timmy Villanueva was with me on this shot. I don't know where he was, but I was doing this. More fall color in Bishop Creek Canyon, up by Sabrina. That's one of my favorite places to go shoot. It's just great fall color, great aspen trees, contrasted against the rock. You can get the water from Bishop Creek there. It's a super fun place. This is a little fisherman's cabin there at Parcher's. Snuck in there and got a shot of this while they weren't looking. I don't think they were there. This is Conway Summit. I'm sure many of you have driven by that thing in the fall, and the colors are just spectacular if you time it right. This is an amazing shot. It's even more amazing when you get storms, but this is a beautiful shot. This has been printed a few times, actually. It's hanging on some walls around some friends' houses. This is a panorama of the same thing, excuse me. And then again, zoom. This is the first shot I took doing that little trick, and I liked it. So now I do it a lot. You can tell. You've seen that before. But just, you have your camera on a tripod, set it up, and as you're shooting the image, just delicately spin that lens, and you never know what you're going to get. Again, framing the background with the leaves in the front, the foreground, creates a nice composition. Gives everybody kind of draws your eye right back to the mountains in the background, so it gives them a place to look. This is the intake 2, I think this one is. At the snow had just fallen that night. Pretty cold morning, but these colors were just reflecting off the lake there. It was just beautiful. This one's been printed a few times as well. And then there's a fisherman here, float tuber guy. He had to be pretty cold. I think that water was chilly. I was cold. I wasn't in the water. These are the aspens up by Sabrina. You get the reds and the yellows and the greens. And again, I tightened up this shot. Instead of trying to shoot the whole mountainside, I kind of cleaned it up and tightened it up so you could really get a nice shot of the color and stuff. This is sunrise below North Lake. The aspens in the foreground there. It's kind of that windy road that goes up to North Lake. I just pulled out on one of those turns, walked up on the side of that hill and got this shot. Again, split neutral density with this one so you can get the foreground as exposed properly. Side shot of Sabrina, the side of Lake Sabrina, colors exploding all over the place. Again, getting creative with the composition, right? So we're blurring out the background and focusing on these leaves in the foreground. That creates a nice look. This is Owens Valley. This is there's some great color down there in the Owens Valley. These huge cottonwood trees. They turn a little bit sooner than everything else. It's pretty fun to get those against Mount Tom. And that's Elderberry Canyon again, where I fell that ski trip. Thanks, Tim. Another tighter shot of that. Don't hesitate to crop the crest out. You don't always need the crest, right? These rocks are so craggy and beautiful amongst themselves. With the golden light in the foreground, that's another option. How about fishing? Somebody want to go fishing? This is winter fishing up on the Upper Owens River. This is on. I'm not going to tell you these lakes because this lake is there's the Lawton cutthroat trout in this lake, and I think there's only about 15 or 20 fish left in this lake, maybe less. So I'm not going to name the name of the lake, but I got to go up there with some guys, and of course everything was catch and release. These beautiful big fish. I have an underwater housing, so I can get under the water and shoot. This was a bitter cold day, and these guys, you can tell how bundled up they are in their waders, and I was bundled up in a dry suit getting in the water. It was even colder in the water, but super fun. This is a beautiful little lake in a canyon. Underwater housing lets me get underwater and get some pretty creative shots of these fish with the fly in their mouth being, netted as they're catching it, and then catch and release. This is actually a 3-shot segment. I didn't want to show all 3 shots, but you can get the fish being released. And you can see that guy's hand, how big that fish is. That's a pretty good sized fish. And then this was a different lake, a little further north. Again, another cold morning, beautiful day, birds flying off the lake. We were catching goldens up here. These were beautiful little golden trout. This underwater housing is super fun to shoot photos with. I got some pretty great shots of here in Sierra and Alaska and whatnot. This shot's actually on the cover of a magazine this month, I'm a member of the Outdoor Writers of America Association, and this is on the cover shot. I just got it in the mail today, actually. Pretty exciting. Cool shot of the net and the fish. This was up in Colorado. We were fishing with a little midge on top and a dropper below, 2-fly rig, and this fish took the bottom fly, large brown trout. That was pretty fun. And this is my buddy Smokey. He caught this on the Green River in Utah. That was a 22-inch brown trout. Beautiful fish. All right, let's go wander around some other places in California. How about a Milky Way shot? This is up on Highway 4. My buddy Gary Bard and I were up there shooting the Milky Way shots, and he was using his brother Alan Bard's lantern for this shot. Had Gary sitting there looking at the Milky Way. This is a beautiful photo, beautiful night. Thanks for that, Gary. I think you're watching. Star Trails up there again on Highway 4 at Lake Alpine. We were camping out one night, and I just set up the camera, and this is a bunch of shots together is what you have to do to get this. There's probably, I don't know, 100 images that you use to get these star trails. These were, I was going, driving up from the Bay Area to put some stuff in a cache that we were going to use to go spring skiing. And it was a really cold winter, start to winter, fall, but the pass wasn't closed. But Tenaya Lake froze. So there were always people ice skating on Tenaya Lake. I had never seen that before. That was pretty cool. Not sure if you guys know these people, but if you do, tell them I have a photo of them. Obviously, Yosemite is a great place to go in the winter. Well, anytime really, but sometimes if you get lucky and there's a snowfall, you can create some spectacular images there. Tenaya Lake, again, beautiful black and white shot. You know, get creative with composition, right? I saw these two trees standing there and this beautiful kind of rust on this rock in the foreground up at Tenaya Lake. And I thought, well, that's an interesting shot, and snapped it away, and here you go. And another thing you have to focus on is patience. You have to wait. A lot of times you'll be standing around waiting for the sun to, is it ever going to come up? Maybe it's not going to come up today, you know, or waiting for it to go down. But you really have to wait. You know, don't leave early. You know, one time we were up in Yosemite at Glacier Point, and we were waiting. There was these kind of, you know, clouds in the sky and kind of blocking the sun. And we thought, oh, this is not going to happen tonight. So we packed up and we're walking back to the car, and I looked in my rear view or the side mirror of my truck and saw this photo below. The sky was exploding with light. So we were running back, trying to get the tripod set up to get these images. And fortunately we did, but you know, just, you never know. Just stand by and wait till it gets dark, because it might happen, it might not, but at least you're in a beautiful spot while you're waiting for it to happen. This is Horsetail Falls. This is the annual Firefall shot that Galen Rowell, I think, was the guy to discover that. I was fortunate to go there back before it got discovered. I remember we'd go there and there were only a handful of people in the valley. And then it was in Sunset Magazine. And the next year there were about 100 people in the valley. And now I think there's thousands. But it's a pretty cool shot. It's a ribbon of waterfall coming down. And the way the sun sets, it's in February, it kind of lights this up so it looks like it's molten lava falling down the rock. Pretty cool. This was a year when there wasn't so much water, but it's still a beautiful shot. This is Death Valley. This is Darwin Falls in Death Valley. That's also in our backyard, short trip away. There's some great photos to be had in Death Valley. These mud flats were pretty cool. Like, I shot this a bunch of different times, a bunch of different ways. And this one, you know, this kind of is an example of, you want to move, right? So this is a little bit to the left of the thing. I didn't catch the whole mud flat. This sketches the whole mud flat. You can see it going off into the background there. And then this is a little tighter shot even. So you want to move around, right? Don't just stand in one spot. Move, lay down, go to one side, go to the other side, climb up on a rock. You know, you never know where you're going to get the shot. And you capture a bunch of different images. You might like all of them, you might like none of them, but there might be one that stands out for you. That's Gary Bard taking a sunset shot in Death Valley. This is the dunes there at Stovepipe Wells. Pretty cool shots there. This is Eureka Dunes. Somebody footprints walking away in the sand. And I've been fortunate enough to go many places in the world. I've had just a super great life. I got to go to Antarctica years ago and shoot penguins and seals and kind of traced Shackleton's path. I saw the Elephant Island where those guys holed up. Pretty wild. And I do a lot of visualization and research before I go on trips like that to see what's going on and get photo ideas. And I didn't know that we were going to be in a place that had this many penguins, but I had seen this shot, and I thought, well, I'm going to, take the right equipment so that if I do happen to get in that area, I have the ability to capture all these penguins in one image. And so on South Georgia Island, we were, got off the boat, and they ferried us over to the island, and we were walking around. Sure enough, walked around the corner, and there were just penguins everywhere. And the hillside was flat and vertical enough where I could get them all in one shot. So, do a lot of research. There's a lot of resources you can use to see what the light's going to do when you get down there. I use Photographers Ephemeris. It's an online resource that you can use, and you can pick the day and the time and when you're going to be there, and they'll show you where the sun's going to be. Of course, it depends on clouds and weather, but at least you know the general direction. So do a little research before you go, and you'll get some great shots. These little chin strap penguins had babies in the nest. That was pretty fun. They were pretty noisy, I can tell you that. And penguin poop is slippery. Let me tell you, we were walking around in big rubber boots to keep our feet dry and whatnot. I almost went down in this stuff a couple times, which would not have been fun. This was in Africa. This little cheetah was looking through the grass, and I had a big 500 millimeter lens. I could zoom in and get his eyes there, And again, this is one of those enjoy the moment shots, right? You never know how many times you're going to come eye to eye with a cheetah. So take the shot, but slow down and enjoy it, and maybe wink at him. See if he winks back at you. This is a yawning lion. He was just sitting on the other side of this lake. Happened to get a yawn. I happened to be there and get the shot. Have your camera ready all the time. You never know. These reporters, we climbed Kilimanjaro, and these reporters carrying some of the loads up Kilimanjaro at the end of the day. Another beautiful sunset down at Bosque del Apache down in New Mexico. It's a huge bird reserve. Amazing sandhill crane migration and snow geese migration. I've been down there a couple times to shoot these birds. You can get really close, and there are thousands of them. So these are great silhouette shots in the early morning light. But then again, at the end of the day, it's like somebody blew a whistle. Sorry, this is early in the morning. The snow geese, they're chirping around, and they roost on the lakes, on the water at night. And then it's like somebody blew a whistle and told everybody to get out of the pool, because they just all at once take off, and it's loud and noisy, and generally right at sunrise. So it's a beautiful time to be down there. You want to have a good tripod so your images will be tack sharp. You couldn't handhold this at all. So, set up and be ready, because it's going to happen. I went to Georgia on a trek in the Caucasus Mountains. This was a big monastery on top of a hill. At the end of the day, we actually got to go take a tour of this thing, but it was pretty cool to hang out with the locals in Georgia. This is in Tbilisi. These guys were playing dice. I couldn't understand what they were saying, but they were engaged in quite the conversation while they were playing dice. Pretty fun. I asked them if I could take their picture, and they were totally fine with it. That was pretty cool. In Turkey, some of the colors and some of the things in the shops and the people were just amazing. We were walking out right around 5 o'clock dinner time, and the people were just out en masse shopping. And this was just a cool shot of the walkway there. It was pretty fun. This is the mosque on the hill. You can see that in the background. This was right up the street from my hotel room. And I was just wandering around shooting in the evening, and, a lot of traffic on the highway. So I captured this image. Turned out pretty good. Plane leaving from the airport at the end of the day. And this was on the trek. It was about maybe a 7-day trek. We climbed the Caucasus Mountains, didn't climb them, but we went to a couple of peaks in Atsuna Pass and a couple of places. And mostly we camped, but the last couple of nights we stayed in these little like bed and breakfast places, which was pretty fun. These were really cool. And the food was amazing, man, really great fresh food from the locals and stuff. It's pretty fun. And this was basically what we were walking on, just kind of, big hills. We climbed 2 passes to get to follow the stream all the way down, but it was just a gorgeous trip. Big mountains. That was horse supported, actually, not mule supported. They use horses over there, which is pretty interesting. And then in order to get back to where we were going, we had to drive. This is one of the top, I think it's one of the top 10 most dangerous roads in the world. And I forget the elevation, but really high. You can see it's all dirt, not much room to pass. Fortunately, we didn't run into any uphill traffic until the end when we got down to lower elevations. But man, it was steep and you're in these little vans. It was pretty fun. How about back in the USA? Let's go to the Bay Area for a bit. You know, the Golden Gate Bridge, city by the bay. I spent some time in Alameda. Got some great shots of the city over there in the Bay Area with sunshine. This is down in Dana Point, hanging out with my sister down there when she lived down there. Sunrise at Dana Point. This is the San Clemente Pier. One evening, I was wandering around down there. Super still, one of those Santa Ana evenings, right? It was Santa Ana winds were probably blowing like crazy up in Fontana, but here it was pretty calm and really warm. I was walking by with a surfboard. And we'll just go through some of the other stuff that I've shot. This is in Utah. This is Canyonlands. Got fortunate to get a cool cloudy day. Clouds always help an image, right? They don't hurt. They look pretty cool. You could do a lot of cool things with contrast. I like to process my clouds and cloudy shots in black and white too. I'm not sure why that is, but I just love the contrast of black and white. This was a cave that you could hike down to. I'm not sure if you can still get to this cave, but you can get into see the ruins of this cave and look out over the Canyonlands. Pretty special spot. We were here about a year later in a windstorm. Thunder and lightning storm, rain. It was amazing. The water's just pouring off these rocks. This is Mesa Arch. This is a sunrise shot. It's pretty crowded here. You gotta kind of scramble to get close and get your shot, but it's amazing how the light just comes up and turns these rocks red. Just beautiful. This is an overlook over the Canyonlands, over the Green River. You can see the Green River down there in the shining there in the bottom of the canyon. This was on the way to Fruita in western Colorado. This was in Capitol Reef. Just a cool old barn there, you know, happened to be there at the end of the day. Light looked really great. This is the Wave down in, it's on the border of Arizona and New Mexico. This land down here looks like somebody poured pancake batter over it. It's just amazing. And you have to, there's a lottery to get in here. They only allow like 8 or 10, 12, maybe 12 people in there at a day. And sometimes if you just wait around, you get a no-show and you can just get in there. So we waited 2 days before we got our passes to go in there. And it's a bit of a hike, but it's just amazing color. And it just looks like somebody poured pancake batter. It's amazing. It just couldn't believe it. And then here's some of my commercial work. I was a friend of mine that races these Weta trimarans, and he hit me up one day and said, "Hey, we'd love some shots of our Wetas for our catalogs and whatnot." So I was out there on a rib, an inflatable rib, with my camera. Got my camera wet, got me wet. I was a little worried that I ruined the lens, but I didn't. But I got home at the end of the day and I had a big 5-gallon bucket. I took all my camera gear apart, sealed it all up, and put it in the bucket and fill it with white rice, and it dried it out beautifully. So that's a trick to keep in mind if things get wet. But we were chasing these Weta trimarans all around the Golden Gate Bridge. That was pretty fun. This got printed on the back of a trailer. This guy had a boat company that he sold and raced boats and stuff. And this was on the back of his trailer. Pretty cool shot. Then I did some portraits up in Wyoming. These are some climbers. You know, his hands look pretty clean to be a climber, don't they? I don't know what's up with that. But anyway, he was one of the guides in the Tetons there in Wyoming. And then we got to do some fly fishing and shoot some fly fishing shots there. I didn't have the water housing with me out there, but it was still fun nonetheless. This is pretty cool. I was hoping to sell this to the Jackson Hole Resort, but they didn't bite. Haven't bitten yet, so maybe that'll still happen. You never know. This is a cool shot of this guy. We were staging things to shoot commercially for camping and whatnot, and this guy just had this great face of heating his hands around his coffee cup. Bitter cold morning. Trail running, mountain biking, pretty fun. And then these are just some friends of mine up in the Sierra enjoying the backcountry. This guy's a pretty good artist, painter and whatnot. And you just never know what magazines, or this is stuff that I shoot on spec. So I just shoot it and then try to sell it later or put it in my stock photography. Usually if you're shooting for someone on assignment, then they specifically tell you what they want. They have, the shots they want, the needs they have. This was climbing Mount Rainier. I was on a Jansport climb there a few years ago. This is the sunset. I went back in the springtime. Unbelievable sunset on Mount Rainier. I didn't realize all the flowers that were up there. This was fantastic. And then just some, still work. You got to be able to be proficient in the studio too. You never know what you're going to have the opportunity to shoot, from scotch to fly fishing equipment to martinis. So that's what I got. Thank you very much for stopping by. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope I didn't go too fast. And I guess we'll have questions.
Yeah, if anybody has any questions, you can put them in the chat or unmute yourself. Whatever works.
No, Tim. No, Tim. Sorry.
I had a question in the chat.
Yes, sir.
What type of 3mm film do you use?
What type of 3mm film do I use? I don't use 3mm film.
35 millimeter.
35.
Oh, 35mm. I thought you were pulling a fast one there, Tim. I don't use film anymore. My cameras are all digital now, but back in the day, I used Kodak and all different kinds, Tri-X for black and white, Kodachrome. But I'm not sure you can even get film these days, can you? Maybe you can. What kind of film do you use?
I don't use film anymore, Rick.
All right, good. You graduated on. That's good.
Don is asking, what filter system do you use with your 14 to 24?
With the 14 to 24, I have a Lee filter system. So the Lee has a mount that you can mount on the lens. It's pretty tough on a 14 to 24, and a lot of times I'll hand hold the filter in front of the lens. So I use round screw-on filters, and I also use flat filters those are the ones I can hand hold in front of the lens. Put the camera on a tripod, hand hold it in front of it, and then take the shot.
Pam asks, what is a shot you missed that you've always regretted?
Oh man, that's a really good question. I don't know. I'll have to think about that one. You might have to email me on that one. I don't really know. I've been pretty diligent of keeping, if I don't have my regular camera with me, I have my phone. And, I think it was Chase Jarvis who said that the best camera you have is the one you have with you. And these days with iPhones and stuff, I just got the new iPhone 12 Pro Max X, whatever it is. And they shoot amazing pictures. Even the 7 Plus, my old 7 Plus took amazing pictures. So it's really whatever camera you have with you. I have to think about what shot I've missed, though. I don't know.
Shot missed, Steve Barker says, mountain lions in the backyard.
I got the mountain lions in the backyard. But not with my camera, with my phone. And I didn't go out in the backyard. I was in the house. So I wasn't going out near the mountain lions. That's quite a story. I was sleeping, staying at the Barker's place up there in Swall Meadows, and they have a little like mother-in-law unit, little bedroom down below their deck. And I was sleeping there, and I heard this, this kind of a growl, and I thought, oh, well, that sounds like a mountain lion. But I went back to sleep, and then woke up again and heard this gnawing sound. It sounded like something was eating something. And then I woke up in the morning, and I saw a lion out below the deck, out in the yard. And then I saw another lion, then another one, and then the mom walked out. So there were 3 young ones and the mom, and they had a deer carcass under there. That's what she was chewing on all night. So, but I do have some phone photos of those.
People are asking about your podcast. Do you want to share?
Say again?
People are asking about your podcast. Do you want to share about your podcast? Yeah.
So my podcast is called the Outdoor Biz Podcast, and I've been in the outdoor industry for over 30 years. Worked with some great brands like Eagle Creek with Steve Barker, Nona Barker. I worked at Jansport, worked at Adventure 16 down in San Diego. I worked at Low Pro, the camera gear company, for a while. And it's such a great industry because once you get in, we're all friends, right? It's like we used to talk about the trade show that we go to every year. It's like a high school reunion. And we'd go to these trade shows, and in the aisles, we'd do our business and we'd have all these conversations in the booth and do all of the business we're doing and swap stories and stuff. But it was oftentimes as you're walking down the aisle or having a beer at the end of the afternoon when some great story would get told in the aisle, maybe never to be told again. And that's where I got the idea for the podcast, because some of those stories that get told in the aisles are just fantastic. And I wanted to share those stories with the rest of the industry. So the podcast was born. I just kind of started it on a whim. I was, I listened to a lot of podcasts. I didn't really think I could be a podcaster, but started it. And here we are 3 years and 266 episodes later. Episode 266 just dropped yesterday. It gets about 5,000 downloads a month, and I've shared fabulous stories. I enjoy the heck of it. I didn't think it would be so much fun. It's super fun getting to talk to all the people and hear their stories of how they got into the industry and the wild tales that they have of all their trips around the world. It's pretty cool. So you can get it on all the places: Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever. The Outdoor Biz Podcast.
Nice. We have a lot of thank yous for sharing your photos from.
Thank you. Thanks for coming. Appreciate it.
Any last questions for Rick before we let him go? No? Awesome. Well, Rick, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you guys. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Rick. Have a good one.
See ya.